Hello there everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've made a video that I've actually spoken, and honestly, making content has been really hard for the game with all the rocky patches and crazy lag in PvP content. I still hope things are going to be on the up, and I think they will be, and the lads I've been playing with recently in Pirate Gaming have made the experience for me more than bearable, so I have so much to thank them for, honestly. Like, the experience I've had with them has been great, and I've really been wanting to make a lot more content, but the game's been such a rough state. There was a lot of lag, and there still is some lag, but, you know, there was some very unbearable points, and I just felt like there was no point making content because it just wouldn't be fun to watch. So that's that. But yeah, moving on to today's video, it's going to be a build video, and yes, I know I'm finally making a build video, or a guide, whatever you want to see it as. Amazing, right? The subject build is a build I've been running since 1.1 drop with the Void Gauntlet, and being the theory crafter I am, I went to work on all kinds of builds like Great Axe Void and what have you, and I felt like I almost had to run this after knowing the abilities and perks of the Void Gauntlet, but also the nerfs the Fire Staff took, which hit me as a mage. After a decent amount of testing and looking at how the meta went, I finally landed on Ice Gauntlet Void Gauntlet, but with heavy armor. And some may ask why, because that's not typical on a mage, and that's why this video exists. So the answer for me is it's almost too good not to run. Not in big numbers probably, but I'll go into detail later in the video, so you can stick around or skip straight to the build video with the timestamps I'll make. The clips you'll see in this video is an example of how much power and utility you have with this build for your team in wars, as I primarily build myself around it, and the amount of pill you'll have for yourself as well. So feel free to watch all the way through if you want an idea of the survivability and how much impact you'll have dropping your buffs and debuffs and the AoEs can make. Enjoy the video. Thanks again for the recent support, everyone, and I'll see you in the build section after the gameplay. Okay. I'm still alive. I'm still alive. I'm still alive. They're all dying. Oh.
Shower is down.
If you're melee, try and go round.
Down at the back.
Oblivion down. Anti-heal down. And they're all dead. All the enemy down. Oblivion down. Anti-heal down. Oblivion down. Anti-heal down on point. Yeah, Oblivion on 8, Oblivion on 8, anti-heal 8.
I can't sleep, this feeling it weighs me down. Too much to keep, I'm letting my secret out.
Bro, my game's so fucked. Holy fuck, this is so laggy, brother. Rin. Oblivion down, anti-heal down. Everything's down, everything's down. Seaside. Let's fucking go. Fine, ice down. Another Oblivion down, I think. Oblivion down. Anti-heal down. Ooh, baby, that top response.
Go first, you don't have to.
I'm with you, boys. You're going to get a big Oblivion anti-heal. Yeah. Oblivion down, anti-heal down.
Big damage. Rend up.
Hey, come this guy.
Scream.
Screams again.
Heavy froze. Screamed again.
All out. Oblivion's on point. Grab's on point.
Huge Oblivion and anti-heal.
Southwest side of point. Southwest side.
You get a contested.
Right, rendered.
Right now, pull off and move towards B now.
Oblivion down. Moving now.
Bullied by a
Probably not.
I'm bullied by a fat punk.
Okay, yeah, he's getting fucking railed. Oh my
Oh
god.
my god. The dodges, man. Bro. Sorry, what I've said about this. Stop violating people.
Yeah, I sit down.
Yeah, I'm getting a void. Yeah. They're all voided. They're all voided. Kill them. Drop them. Oh. Go on main gate. Oblivion down on main gate. Anti-heal. Drop everything on main gate right now.
Shocking way. Coming down.
Oh.
Hammer's following up now.
Two cannons on the south side. I want them down.
Couple of free casters. Feel free to take them out while they haven't gone yet. Upper west wall. They're coming through back door. On my D's. Oblivion down. Anti-heal down. You can drop everything. Oblivion down. Anti-heal down. Drop everything on Seagate right now if you're nearby. Yes, look at them drop. Good shit. They're coming through now. Oblivion down. Anti-heal down on them. Drop all your damage on them now.
Second Oblivion down now. There's an Oblivion down. Get in it.
Yep, following ice now. Nice, watchable drop. Let's fucking go. Look how easy this is. I'm moving in with an Oblivion in a second. Oblivion down on me.
I've got the ice on the...
Very nice.
Anti-heal down.
I've rendered them as well. Hold them in that block, boys. Keep holding them. Good shit.
Ice them now. Nice, boys. That's what I like to fucking see. Hopefully that footage gave a rough idea of why I'm playing this for my team, and it showcases how the moment you drop your main callouts like Oblivion and Putefang Scream, the anti-heal or whatever it's actually called, you just drop everyone if your team follows it, and it's honestly something really vital, I think, to the team to have. I don't think everyone should be running it, but I think it's definitely a very interesting build if you want to play something out of the normal and something I've cooked up. So moving into the build, I had three things in mind. One was I want to play Mage still. Second was I want to use Void Gauntlet. And the third was how do I put this all together in a way that facilitates it in the new patch and new meta. And that's how I came to this build. So as I stated earlier in the video, I decided to run heavy armor with this build. And the reason why I came to this conclusion is you're not very long range. This isn't Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet where you are very, high DPS. You're a bit more of a glass cannon blaster. You're there for the pure DPS. This is more of a entire utility build. And, we'll go through that why as we go along, right? So we'll go to the weapons now. So we'll look at Ice Gauntlet and we'll look at the spells I'm using. So it's pretty cookie cutter, I think, the Ice Gauntlet build. I still don't think this has changed throughout. So yeah, running Cold Reach. I'm pretty sure what people know how this is by now. So yeah, Rejuvenation, Critical, Ice Storm with all three of the perks because Punishing Storm works on this patch, which is great. Gathering Storm, Critical Frost, and Heavy Freeze. I still opt to use Heavy Freeze. It's still super insanely powerful when you have to get Ultimate Chill. The 5-second cooldown doesn't really matter in the long run. Then Ice Shower with all the usual. The Rend is too powerful. The Root is too powerful. The CC you have is good. And then we have Quick Frost and then Refreshing Frost. I like getting the cooldowns of this, especially with the cooldown nerf on Ice Shower this patch. And then Entombed. I wish I could use these perks, but you just kind of don't. You just don't have enough ability to use them. There's no room. And then finally, this is one of the most important perks actually on the tree, is Defiant Freeze for this build. So casting an Ice Gauntlet ability creates a hardened layer, granting 20% fortify for 2 seconds. So the idea of this is I'm running heavy armor, right? So any spell I cast, you know, I get Defiant Freeze. I'm going to be even tankier this way. The thing with this build that matters a lot is you have to get in close to cast these spells. You know, Oblivion, I have to cast it in a range where this is going to matter and my team can fight in this. My Scream, you know, not very long range. I have to be up close to use this. And Void Blade, I have to be up close to use this too. I'll go into, you know, the perks and stuff I use for this in a second. But, you know, your longest range spell is your Ice Storm, by far. But that doesn't really matter, because you can just cast it anywhere at that point. And obviously these two spells are very short range. So my idea was thinking, I need to get in and fight people, right? I need to survive. I can't really do that in light. Maybe you can in medium at a push, but I thought, oh, at this point, if I'm full utility, I may as well just go full heavy, because, I mean, mages get attacked by melee quite often because, you know, you're a fairly squishy target, you're free casting. But that isn't the idea of this build. This build is to get in, get dirty, drop all your shit, and destroy them with your team. So we'll move on to the Void Gauntlet now. So, yep, we're running Void Blade, we're running Oblivion, and we're running Putrefying Scream. Or Petrifying Scream, sorry, the perk's Putrefying Scream. So this whole side is very important for the DPS side and for your team. It's insane how strong this thing is. So in case you haven't seen it, so Void Blade, you know, you activate it and you pull out the blade like I just showed a second ago, and you'll do weapon damage equal to 100% or 100%, 50% for a thrust. The crazy thing about this is it cleaves and it adds damage absorption reduction, so rend, on anyone you hit up to 3 times. So you get 15% rend just from slashing people with this, which is great. And again, you're going to start seeing the theme of this come to light now. So you gain Fortify on the start of this as well. So again, you're heavy with Fortify. You're not going to die while you're running in to make these plays and drop these abilities. So yeah, we have that, and then crit damage. All of these are all cooldown reduction, increased crit chance, increased damage, increased crit chance, increased crit damage, health on crits, which is good for the sustain of the build again. And then you have Void Caller, which basically you consume all the stacks and you'll heal self and friendlies, which doesn't really do much because of not having focus. It does some weapon damage, pretty nice little extra bit of damage. The Scream, very powerful. It roots everyone in place for 2 seconds. It also goes up to 3 seconds if they're below 50%. And it also gives you Fortify. So again, you see the trend I'm going with here. You're just constantly getting Fortify. You're constantly tanky. You can get in. You can get close up. You can deal all your damage. You can drop all of your buffs, debuffs, everything. Oblivion, probably the most important spell on the thing, is you drop a big circle, as I showed you a second ago. I'll show you again real quick. So you drop this. And when you do that, it's going to give everyone on your team 20% in power, which is massive. And it's going to deal damage to everyone inside it as well. So you're already dealing damage, you're empowering yourself and your teammates, but then you're also getting weaken inflicted on anyone getting hit inside, so 15% damage reduction, always great. And then 15 stamina per second, so, you know, it's a very powerful spell. And I'll go on to why Oblivion and Petrifying is so powerful in a second. And then also, yeah, to round it off, we've got mana cost reduced by 20% or 25% while above 50% mana, which is very important, because it's a very mana-hungry build. And then you have 5% mana per ranged light attack against debuff targets, which can happen sometimes, but you mostly need to just take this so you can get this. That's the main reason. So that's the spells, but we're moving to the gear now, because the gear is the very important part. I mean, my Ice Gauntlet and Void Gauntlet are not the best. They're not the worst either. Like, I've got Enchanted Keenly on this, which is great. And I've got Keenly Fortified on this. Fortify again, another thing moving in to the build and the trend I've got set with it. And then right now, yes, I'm running Void Bent. I still will get a replacement for these eventually. But here's one of the important perks again, just showing you my gear as I go along. Nullifying Oblivion. So when you activate Oblivion, you're not only doing damage to them, empowering your teammates, weakening the enemies, and giving stamina, you're also removing all limited duration buffs from enemies that are inside the radius when you activate it. So that means their empowers, their fortifies, healer buffs, everything like that, right? So it creates a lot of value and a lot of pressure just from applying this. And that's why I started thinking to myself, well, if I run in and drop this is OP, right? So this is how I came across this build in my mind and decided to start putting it together. Sadly, these are medium pieces moving down to here, but yeah, we've got Unending 4 for Frost. You know, that's a very powerful ability to get your Frost effects remaining on people for 2 seconds longer when they leave Storm. That's fantastic. And then this piece sadly has dex on it. I need to change that as soon as I can. Probably next patch when you can craft what you want, basically. Then you have Putrefying Scream. So on successful hit, you inflict disease, which is a 50% healing reduction. That is massive in this game right now. So if I'm walking up close, you can probably see by more than obviously by now with the build. If I get up close and I drop these abilities on people and my team follow up, they're going to die. And the thing is I still deal damage. This build doesn't just, you know, not deal damage. If I can, I'll throw up some screenshots here. I'm not too sure if I've got any endgame screenshots. But, you know, I could do anywhere from 800,000 to still over like 1.1, 1.2 million with this build. You know, that's nothing to scoff at. But I'm also running a lot of utility for the team. So I don't see why you wouldn't run this build, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, the anti-heal is massive. Obviously, healing is a very big thing in this game, but if you can anti-heal them and you can remove all their buffs, they're going to die with your team, right? That's the important thing about it. And then moving on to my jewelry, I've got health. Health is the most important perk in this game, along with divine on your amulet. Sadly, I have refreshing instead of divine, but it will do. And then you want keen awareness and hearty. Hearty is a must if you're running light or heavy. It will give you a third dodge, which is insanely important. And then for earring, I run healthy toast because this is a mana hungry build. So when you're chugging mana, you're getting health as well. So you're innately tanky as a result. And then refreshing ward because you're going to get slapped around a lot. So I mean, that's pretty good too. So right now I'm 241 200. You need 200 con in this build, 100%, because you know your max health's increasing by your armor. You've got more armor because you're running heavy, so you're going to get more health. And then you get 20% increase to your armor, which will then buff this perk up as well, which is fantastic. And minus crit damage is always good, right? So that's fantastic. And then you're going to want as much intelligence as possible. Because of those boots I showed you earlier, these boots giving me 9 dex, I should be at 250 int with the right pair of boots, which means I'll be 290 with food. So it's not like I'm losing out on int to run this build. I can still be 300 int, 200 con once I min-max my build a little bit more. As you can see, I've got a lot of dex I don't need right now, like I mentioned. And then I just need to up my gear score a little bit to get the 600s. But yeah, so you can run your build like this, it'll be fine, because as long as you're over this 250 threshold with food, your Oblivions, your Ice Storms, etc. will last longer. The only other thing I can recommend is getting Deadly Frost on a piece. So if you're not running any Void Bent pieces up here, you can run Deadly Frost as well, just to make a little bit more damage come out of your Ice Gauntlet. But yeah, that's the build overall. That's how it works. And it's how I felt was just important going into this patch. It felt like you needed survivability because people, especially on our server, were just melting each other. Everyone got better at stacking rens, things like that. So you kind of just have to survive. And the only way I'm going to survive dropping these kind of spells is if I'm heavy or have a shit ton of con, you know, and dodging all day. And obviously our good healers. The general idea of the build, you know, you want to run in, you want to get in deep, you want to use some of your dodges to get in. You're just going to drop your abilities. You know, you can get in close. You can drop your rend on top of anyone. Your team should be following up by now. As you can see, my mana just drops heavily there. But, you know, you can get in. You've dropped all your spells. You won't die because you've probably applied at least 3 million different fortifiers. And yeah, it's good to go. If you didn't look at the footage, feel free to go back now that I've explained a bit why I'm running this build. But that was just my thought process. I couldn't think of a way to play Fire and Ice that wouldn't make me depressed after how much they nerfed everything. But to me, this build made a lot of sense. It's a lot of utility for yourself and your team because, you know, you can save yourself by rooting someone and then into a root, and then you can drop this and then, you know, heavy freeze them. And they've been rooted for, what, like, I don't know, 4 seconds at least there. So, you know, you got a lot of appeal for yourself. Another thing is your tomb scales with your max health. So, you know, the tanky you are, the better it is. The way I saw it is I wanted to trade pure raw DPS for utility for my team because I think this is game-breaking amounts of utility. And one thing I do want to touch on as well is moving into next patch 1.2, which will be in the near future in the December patch unless it's delayed. You're essentially going to be looking at a buff to Ice Gauntlet, which actually benefits this build. There's some slight buffs where like they're making it so you can't jump out of roots for Ice Shower, I believe. Apparently a small Ice Storm buff. I didn't see that anywhere. But the main thing is so right now your tomb heals you for 50%. Sorry, not heal you for 50%. It's 50% of your max health. But in the next patch, it's going to be 75% of your max health. So the tanky you are with your HP, you're going to have even bigger ice tombs to live in. So, you know, it all adds up. It all works out. That's all good. And there's some other perks as well coming next patch, which may benefit the build as well, like being able to apply rend with a heavy attack. So you might be able to just rend a single target, like in smaller skirmishes and whatnot. There's also healing reduction on crits below 50%, and I believe one for just landing heavy attacks. So, you know, there'll be more ways to apply anti-heal than just this, and it's very important. It's going to be very important to get these pieces of gear and these perks. But that's all I've got to say about 1.2. It's still probably going to be really good to run this, honestly. I played around with it on the PTR a bit, and I still think it's very good, if not better. It gets buffed after all. So, and GA gets nerfed, for example, so you're going to be even better against it. But yeah, that's about it for the build. If anyone has any questions or anything I didn't elaborate on, I'm doing this pretty late at night, so please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Always feel free to like and sub as well, or dislike if you didn't like the content for whatever reason, but do let me know why so I can improve. Also, go see our company leader as well, Danneh. He's a fantastic guy. He makes great content. He streams as well very often. I've already been putting his links below in the description, so feel free to look at those as well and check him out. With that, that's going to be the end of the video, so thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.